Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I'm going to be looking at a movie that has been requested quite a bit on the channel, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I have to be honest, this movie is way better than I thought it would be. I didn't know what to expect with something like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, but the movie actually had a pretty good story and well thought out vampire lore. The movie came out in 2012 and it was directed by Timur Bekmambetov, who has worked on other amazing action movies like Night Watch and Wanted. It was produced by the legendary Tim Burton. The film was adapted from the novel Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, written by Seth Graham Smith. He wrote the screenplay for the movie as well. He actually wrote a second book in the series called Last American Vampire. The film stars Benjamin Walker as Abraham, Dominic Cooper as Henry Sturgis, Anthony Mackie as Will Johnson, Alan Tudyk as Stefan, who is also on the show Firefly, which I recently made a video about, and Rufus Sewell as Adam, the first of the vampires. There is some difference between the books and the movies, so I will explain what has been changed. We're going to look at the vampires and how Abraham Lincoln became a vampire hunter. When Abraham was a child, his father was working for a man named Jack Bartz, who owned a place called Bartz Shipping. One day, Abraham tried to defend his friend Will, who was being whipped, and this led to him being punished as well, forcing Abe's father Thomas to step in. Unfortunately, this got his father fired, and his father didn't have the money that he owed Jack Bartz. But Jack said there's other ways to collect a debt. That night, Jack Bartz came to the Lincoln home and bit Abe's mother on her wrist. For some reason, she did not turn into a vampire, but died instead. Abraham was awake that night and witnessed what happened. This made him hate Jack Bartz, although he did not know that he was a vampire. Abe's father asked him not to do anything foolish, probably because he couldn't lose anyone else. 9 years later, Abe's father passed away, and now Abe would have his revenge on the man that killed his mother. He is having a couple of drinks, getting up his courage, when a man named Henry Sturgis says someone only gets that drunk when they want to kiss a girl or kill a man. And when he slaps him on the shoulder, a gun falls on the floor. I guess that answered Henry's question. Abe goes to his business, Bartz Shipping, with a pistol, but loads the pistol incorrectly, forcing him to run away and try to load another shot in the gun.
Powder, patch, ball. Don't mess it up.
Luckily, Abe manages to load the gun just in time, and just as Bart tries to break through, he's waiting with the pistol loaded. Boom, headshot. Abe throws the pistol in the water, and wait, the body's gone. Incoming jump scare, he's still alive, and he looks much scarier. Jack Bartz almost kills Abe, but luckily the man from the bar, Henry, shows up and saves him. He saved Abe but did not kill Jack Bartz, and we'll find out why soon. Abe wakes up in Henry's house, and he agrees to train Abe to kill vampires. Abe ends up using his signature axe as his chosen vampire killing weapon instead of a gun. A silver axe, that is. Abe says he's never had much luck with irons, referring to his run-in with Jack Bartz. But he says that he was a rail splitter, and this is actually a true fact about Abraham Lincoln. He was a champion rail splitter, and his axe is on display in the Widener Library. Now let's look at these vampires and how they came to America. Adam is the first of all vampires. Henry says he is the one from which all others are made. Adam is over 5,000 years old and is ruler of the vampires. His sister Vedoma acts as his enforcer. Adam was born in Egypt, lived among Romans, and eventually sailed to America to slaughter and feed on Native American tribes. The vampires killed the first European settlers that arrived, but eventually they saw an opportunity in the slave trade. They would be able to use it as a way to get food. He builds a large plantation in the South and becomes a major businessman. Eventually, when the North and South go to war, Adam even helps the South by supplying vampires for the army, because no slaves means no easy way for Adam and his vampires to have regular food. Adam's plan is to take over the United States and then eventually the world. So in this weird kind of alternate reality, the slave trade in the South was actually being driven by vampires. A long time ago, Henry Sturgis was traveling with his wife, and Adam stopped them and proceeded to kill Henry's wife and turn him into a vampire. This made Henry hate vampires more than anything, and to top it off, he couldn't actually kill Adam. He informs Henry that vampires cannot kill their own kind. Only the living can kill the dead. So now Henry cannot kill the man he hates most. So that's why he begins finding and training vampire hunters. If he can't kill them, he will train someone who will. That's why Henry begins training Abraham after that night with Jack Bartz. Henry teaches Abe everything he knows about vampires and how to kill them. The idea that vampires cannot kill each other was actually not in the book, but I think it's a cool addition to the movie. Henry has trained other hunters in the past, and it's also important to note that when Henry started training Abe, he had no idea that Henry was a vampire, until one day he finds Henry feeding on a man, and he's forced to explain what happened to his family. The man that Henry fed on was trying to force himself on a girl, so I think it was trying to show that he avoids killing innocent people if he can. Henry says vampires like himself will go as long as they can without feeding, while others kill for fun and think of humans to be a lesser species. Vampires appear just like a human most of the time, and they have gained the ability to adapt to sunlight so they can be very hard to spot. Only when a vampire is angered or very hungry will they reveal their true form, which consists of darker or gray skin, pale eyes, and very sharp teeth, with a jaw that can open much wider than normal. Sometimes a vampire can be in a kind of in-between transition, where they still have bloodshot eyes and dark veins, like Henry in the alleyway. Some other ways to tell if someone is a vampire is if their body temperature is cold, and these vampires do not appear in mirrors. Like I said, vampires have the ability to adapt to sunlight, so they don't need to hide in the dark of night. But they do prefer night because the sun still irritates their skin slightly, which is why we see Henry using sunscreen. They can render themselves invisible and can take the form of a mist like classical vampires. When Abe is fighting a vampire that keeps turning invisible, he throws a handful of something on it to show where it's standing. When the vampires go invisible, it kinda reminds me of The Witcher. Vampires, like usual, have super strength and speed, and these vampires are very strong, able to hold up a falling train car. They also seem to grow stronger with age. Along with their strength, they're almost completely impervious to physical damage, but cannot regenerate limbs or body parts. Jack Bartz is shot in the eye, and it does not heal. When he's shot in the face, it did render him unconscious momentarily, so vampires can still be knocked out, but it only lasts a few seconds. Jack Bartz is seen easily running as fast or faster than these horses. He's also able to run across their back, showing vampires are very agile. To top it all off, like almost all vampires, they have enhanced senses like an animal. Better vision, smell, and hearing. How does someone become a vampire? First, they must be bitten, and within only a few minutes they will be fully turned. Only some people can be turned into vampires. A pure soul cannot be turned into a vampire, which is why Abraham's mother and son die from being bitten. Henry says that he could bring the boy back as a vampire after he died, so I guess someone with a pure soul can be turned into a vampire, but they have to be bitten twice. Henry said he could turn the boy even after he was dead, so there must be a window of opportunity before the body begins to rot, where they can be brought back. When someone's soul is not pure and they can become a vampire, they experience pain, dizziness, and a ringing in their ears, but the transformation is very quick. If the person's soul is pure, then they will suffer convulsions, fever, and die within 24 hours. When Judas betrayed Jesus, his reward was 30 pieces of silver. At that moment, those pieces became a symbol of betraying God, of evil, and silver became a curse on the cursed. This is why silver is one of the vampire's only weaknesses, along with decapitation. They are not affected by holy objects or holy water or stakes through the heart. The story of why the silver affects the vampires really reminded me of the werewolf movie I covered called The Cursed, which spoke of the same silver pieces. It's a really cool origin of why the silver hurts people that are cursed. I want to quickly mention some of the differences between the book and the film. In the book, vampires are not affected by silver, but they can be staked through the heart. They do not have any supernatural powers like turning invisible, and they're also capable of killing each other. There's one major difference between the vampires in the film and the book, and that's that the vampires in the book are not humans with a curse, but instead they're actually an entirely different species. Vampires don't know who or when exactly their species was created, but they presume that they were created at the same time as humans.
Abraham fucking Lincoln.
That's my video on Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I watched this movie one day just for fun, not knowing what to expect, and throughout the entire movie I was surprised at how much I liked it. From the characters like Henry, Adam, and Jack Bartz, to some of the awesome gore. My favorite character might have to be Jack Bartz. I don't know why, but I loved his menacing demeanor and the way he talked. It was great.
You may consider yourself free from the burden of my employ.
If you haven't seen this movie, you really should check it out, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. I'm still working on a couple videos at once right now, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy them. Thanks so much for your support, and if you enjoyed, leave a like, and maybe hit that subscribe button if you haven't. I really appreciate it, especially since we're so close to 50,000 subscribers, which is crazy to me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.